Hey guys, before we get into it, I appreciate you guys watching. If you like my content, click the bell here. Hit all. This way you can get an alert every time I post a video, which is usually 6 p.m. EST every day. Also guys, please like and share, and keep in mind that this is a comprehensive video about universal basic income. Love you guys. Let's get into this drama here. Let's get into this drama here. So, there's a bit of a... So Desmond Fambrini and Dr. Ina are going at it. I like both of them for context. Very educational, both in different ways. More obviously scientifically educational from Dr. Ina, and I'd say more socially educational from Desmond Fambrini, who always does an exceptional job at not getting triggered by people disagreeing with him. So, you know, it's pretty great. And so this whole thing is over the super straight movement, which is so annoying. I'm tired of the super straight thing. It's so annoying. It was like a funny meme at first. Clearly, I don't think that Dr. Ina understands the origins of it, so we're going to quickly go over the origins of the super straight thing, because we're being very divisive and we're having a very profoundly negative impact on trans people by having arguments like this. Like, these are not productive arguments. And this all stems from performative activists on TikTok specifically. I'll say T Blizzy is one of them, who constantly say, like, if you wouldn't date a trans person, then you're transphobic. And that's just absolutely, like, I just completely disagree. You know, you don't have to date a trans person. You can still be somebody that's for the rights of trans people without wanting to date somebody. People constantly say that not wanting to date a trans person simply because they're trans basically means that you don't think that they're a woman. And that might be true for some people, but we need to have like honest conversations here, because while I absolutely believe trans women are women, society even acknowledges that trans women and cis women are different. I think that they're both women. I think as a society, we've shifted what it means to be a woman, but we do understand that they're a bit different. And for somebody like me who has absolutely no problem dating trans women or even some trans men, I don't put any value into like the biology of a trans person. It means very little to me. Well, it means nothing to me. However, there are some people who do, right? We all acknowledge there's a difference, but some people put more value into that difference, okay? And that's not something that makes you transphobic, right? You don't have to sleep with somebody in order for you to accept somebody's particular rights, right? Like, you don't have to sleep with fat people to be like, yeah, I understand the struggle of fat people. You don't have to sleep with black people in order to understand the struggles of black people. Preferences do exist. You don't have to sleep with somebody with autism in order to fight for people with autism, right? So, like, you guys have to understand this. And, like, of course, it's a sensitive topic, right? I totally understand it. But, like, it's rooted, like, there's a reality here. And it is that you're not transphobic if you wouldn't date a trans person. And so, like, a lot of, like I said, performative activists have riled this situation up to the point where somebody decided to make, like, a meme on TikTok called Super Straight, where it just means that you would only date cisgendered people, right? Which is reactionary. And then it's gone, like, way too far. It's very annoying. Like, people decide to identify as super straight. They took the joke too far, and it's very annoying. It was funny at first to me because I thought it was a meme that was going to die, and we all knew that it wasn't like a real thing, but it went way too far. Because like, it could have just been like a funny meme that died in like 3 days, but of course we're still sitting here talking about it. It's actually very annoying. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through both Desmond's response to what it is, and then also Ina's response to what Dr. Ina, excuse me, her response to what it is, and then we're going to go through there and we're going to watch all this. I haven't watched all of the drama, so it's going to be very interesting. Okay, so
Super straight.
So let's start with Desmond.
Thoughts on people saying they're super straight. Oh, okay, I guess this is officially a thing. This is why I came out and said, hey, I don't necessarily know if it's transphobic to say that you don't tend to be attracted to people that are transitioning or non-binary. Because look what happens. People started saying, oh, it's transphobic to not be attracted to people that are gender fluid. And so the other side fired back and said, oh, look, we have a sexuality. It's super straight. What are you gonna do now? You're gonna say super straight is bad? That's going against my sexuality. Do you see the problem we got ourselves into? If we just accepted everyone holistically and didn't argue about people and whether or not they should be attracted to somebody else, we wouldn't even have this problem. Just let transgender people be transgender. You don't necessarily have to be attracted to them. And if you're not, you don't necessarily need to wave around a flag saying so. But to the other side, I mean, these people are just saying, oh, I prefer cisgender people. Is it really that bad? I'm not cisgender. I'm not personally insulted by this. Not everyone's gonna be attracted to me. I don't need everyone to be attracted to me. Anyway, I hope this helps.
Yeah, so I mean, pretty reasonable perspective. I think the biggest thing to take away here is that, like, what did we do by asking if you're transphobic? If you like, what do we gain by having the conversation about being transphobic if you wouldn't date a trans person? Like, you're not required as a human being to give any reason, justification, or validation as to why or why you would or wouldn't date somebody. Like, you just don't have to. Like, and we've decided to create problems out of things that aren't even realistic. Like, you don't go around asking these problems. If you're a trans person and you go on a date with a cis person, they're like, "Oh, I'm not into you because you're trans." It could be a myriad of things. Maybe they are transphobic. Maybe they want to have kids. Maybe they are. They still put too much, in my opinion, too much emphasis on your biology. I don't know. I just don't think it's transphobic as long as you're respectful, right? Yeah. So anyway, let's get into
transphobic.
Let's get into Dr. Ina, and of course, it's off of Teacher Luke, who really just likes to be incredibly divisive for likes and views, and that's always a fun thing. Like today, he said systemic racism doesn't exist, and he has like a master's in business, so somehow that gives him the qualifications to understand that, when that's like a sociologist's like job to do, and like it's an objective fact that systemic racism exists. Anyway, this isn't about that, so let's watch this.
Is the super straight movement transphobic? First,
the answer you're looking for is yes. Y-E-S, yes. And no amount of dictionary gymnastics that you are doing is going to change that. But it's interesting that you used the word movement there. Was it a Freudian slip? I'm not really a huge fan of Freud, but I think you might be, so let's call it a Freudian slip. When you said something you really weren't supposed to, but was kind of in your mind or your subconscious anyway. Yeah, movement is not an orientation, dear. It's just not. You don't actually think that trans women are women.
But like I said, like this is very much. I mean, this is really just Teacher Luke slander, which I'm all for it. But like, it doesn't really like contribute to the conversation. Like saying a movement over an orientation is irrelevant. Like that's like saying like, oh, is there a gay? Like, oh, there's a gay movement, and then there's a gay orientation. Like it's the movement of being gay, right? Like advocating for gay rights, and super straight are advocating for their rights, even though they're not marginalized, right? It's all over like bullshit online performative like shit. Performative activists riling tensions about trans people.
You're probably a little homophobic and a little afraid
he
that
probably is homophobic, yeah.
somebody might think you're willing to consider intimacy with a man. That is, if they were ever interested in you.
I don't think it's homophobic to not want, like, that's what's weird. Like, he might be homophobic. I don't know. It's funny slander, but like the idea that it's like upsetting to be intimate with a man as another man that somehow makes you homophobic is just really weird. Because like you see how we're drawing the line. Like if you don't have a preference towards guys now, maybe you are homophobic. It's like, no, not really.
Do you know nobody's actually making you have intimacy with anybody?
That's true, right? That's true. But like I said, like that's where I think Dr. Ina doesn't like quite understand the origins of this whole like meme movement. Is like, yeah, no, but like some people are like trying. They're trying to say that you're a bigot if you wouldn't date a trans person, right? So I don't think that's something that Dr. Ina understands, and a lot of people don't. Like their reaction is reasonable if they don't understand that. So
you don't have to. You just have to not be transphobic. Your issues are showing.
Unfortunately, that wasn't super educational. That was kind of just like slander, which again, totally in it for the Teacher Luke slander, but that wasn't super educational. There wasn't really much like substance there. She speaks with a weight generally and very educationally, and this time she didn't, but that weight was still carried. So people are like, yeah, you're right. That validates whatever. And like, not really. Nothing was really said. But okay. Now, the next video here is in response to Desmond, a video that I think that he took down. But
How do you feel about this?
But it says, how do you feel about the tolerance paradox, right? Now, I don't know if that was, I can't watch the original video because it was taken down. So I can't really make an assumption on what if it was related to super straight, but really quick, I looked into the tolerance paradox. A very interesting concept, very new to it. So excuse me if I don't understand it fully. Let me find the quote here. The exact quote of what it is. Right. So it claims that unlimited tolerance results in the destruction of tolerance by the intolerant, right? Which is like a tongue twister for me. I would equate that to basically, if you're tolerant towards intolerant people, then you end up destroying the concept of tolerance, right? Like you end up not being tolerant anymore, right? So like, for instance, like if you're tolerant towards conservative people who are intolerant towards, let's say, LGBTQ people, well, your tolerance is advocating for intolerance towards another group. It gets like, that's why it's a paradox, right? It gets all kooky. So I understand that. Here's what I'd say, whether you could agree with this or not. There's a way to be, we'll say, respectfully intolerant. And that's what a lot of conservative people are. Let's use Ben Shapiro as an example, right? He's respectfully intolerant. I don't agree with what he has to say. But from a positive perspective, well, realistically, there are different people with different perspectives in society. Ben Shapiro represents a particular mind frame, and the fact that having respectful intolerance and then engaging with other people with different perspectives is generally like a good thing. Actually is a good thing. Not generally. It is an absolutely good thing. We need to have these conversations to shift people's minds. Now, Ben Shapiro may never shift on his perspective on trans people, and he may maintain his intolerance. But his level of intolerance, well, for one, his audience might actually shift their perspective, but his level of intolerance still advocates for equal rights for trans people, let's say, but he just doesn't think that they're men or women, which, of course, has its issues because, but I know he would call it like, oh, it's a delusion, and like you can get whatever surgery you want. I'm just not going to call you by this, that, or the other thing, and whatever. But you understand like my fundamental point, and I don't agree with Ben Shapiro. So I don't know. I guess Dr. Ina decided to weigh in on that. What Desmond has said, and Desi fired back. I have not watched Desmond's reaction to it, so let's do this.
The tolerance paradox.
So apparently the way Daisy feels about the tolerance paradox is that tolerance paradox does not apply when we tolerate homophobia or transphobia. That's not how it actually works. When you tolerate homophobia and transphobia, homophobes and transphobes do not change. They become enabled. They feel accepted. They feel like it's perfectly fine and they don't have a problem. And you are helping them in that. Let's educate and not tolerate.
Yeah, so that was a really shitty take because, like, Desi, in Dr. Ina's defense, Desi posts so much, but Desi talks about how, like, the super straight thing needs to, like, dial down and people need to chill out, but, like, it's not, but how he doesn't feel it's transphobic for people to not be into trans people. That's pretty much the gist of it. Desi has made her his entire platform, Freudian slip, a little feminine, kind of cute, you know what I'm saying? Desi has made his entire platform off of educating people and turning people from being homophobic and transphobic. That is just an objective fact. Like, he's done a tremendous job, like, not having emotional reactions to people and trying to educate people and shifting people, which is a very necessary thing. So that's clearly a miss on Dr. Ina.
Saying to educate.
So then Desmond goes the fuck off. Yeah, Desmond goes the fuck off. Maybe more than I thought. How many videos have you posted?
I love how everyone was trying.
Hour ago, I don't know.
Dr. Ina, you want to start
all right, 7 hours ago. Let's get into this.
Dr. Ina, you want to start drama on a Saturday morning? Fine. You made a video about me saying I tolerate things like homophobia. No, I educate. And you're saying to educate, but this is what we call the white savior complex. As in, you're white, so you know how to educate. But when I
would say the cisgendered savior complex would be a better usage, but I understand what Desmond's saying.
talk to people nicely, that's just tolerating and enabling. So this is classic, right? It's the classic idea of only white people can teach, or only straight white people like you can teach. Well,
goodness, Jesus Christ. I really wish Desmond just said like the cis savior complex, you know what I mean?
I'd be nice to someone and educate them. That's not true education, because only white straight people can educate. No, false. I'm educating too. You just don't have respect for me, either because I'm non-binary, because I'm black, or because I'm young. But the idea that you think you're educating and I'm just simply tolerating is so racist and homophobic and transphobic. It's so messed up. And the fact that people are actually standing behind this means people still support the white savior complex. I might take this down later, but you, my friend, are transphobic, homophobic, racist, and your video has such a savior complex, I can't even deal. I'm amazed you haven't been canceled. But this helps.
Hope this helps. Woo! A drill. Okay, so Desmond went full woke, and I don't even disagree necessarily. Jesus Christ, that was intense. Desmond went off, bro. Holy fuck. Oh my goodness. That was fucking intense. Holy shit. In Desmond's defense, like, Dr. Ina wasn't respectful at all in her clap at Desmond. So, hey, listen. This is what happens when you want to be woke. You get out woked. That's what happens, bro. Let's go on to the next video.
On the rate.
He made another video.
Last bit of drama for this morning. The sassy Desmond is on the rage. Dr. Ina had one good point. I need to make a video taking an actual stand against transphobia and homophobia that is just as harsh about the video that I made about her. So here you go. Transphobia and homophobia will not be tolerated on my page. That includes hating on me or other LGBTQ members. Now with this said, if you have a question, I'm always willing to answer it as an educator. Always. I will never judge you for a question. But there will be no hate on my page towards me, towards my students, towards anyone black, LGBTQ, queer, gay, trans, anything like that. We are not having this nonsense anymore. We are not hating on each other. We're not hating on me. We're not having the white savior complex. Dr. Ina, here's the harsh video you asked for. I still think that you're homophobic and racist. You want harsh deji? Congratulations. You got the teacher voice. Unacceptable. Hope this, actually no, I don't hope this helps.
Oh my
Last bit of
Jesus Christ. It's so funny. Listen, I don't know that I've seen any homophobia or transphobia on Desi's page. Like even people who you may consider homophobic or transphobic are generally very respectful towards him, which is one of the reasons why he does a phenomenal job being an educator, an activist. I think it's really shitty when people decide that their form of activism is the best form of activism. Dr. Ina's form of activism seems to be a bit centralized around like intelligent, informative takes, but also by shaming people that she doesn't want to come out against with like intelligence. I would say like the teacher Luke thing. Like she just totally like slandered him. Again, I'm fine with it. That guy's a fucking asshole, but it's not educational when you just kind of call him homophobic and transphobic, and you don't actually go after the content of what he's talking about. And that's what Desmond does. This would be a classic, like, I forget what the name of the guy is, but there's a black guy who's like befriended a bunch of KKK members and de-radicalized them. And like, he got shit from BLM, people in BLM for like, oh, why are you wasting your time doing this? Everybody has different ways to go, to educate people. And like, everybody does a different way of educating different people, right? Like I try to educate more conservative people on some more progressive mentalities and ideologies, the way I do it. And I think it's effective because my audience is more conservative people, some people that I used to very heavily identify with. But I get shit all the time from progressives like, oh, why aren't you doing this, that, or this? It's like, well, it's not what I do. Like, educate in your own way. I don't have to do what you do. So Daryl Davis. Yeah, there you go.
anyone.
There's another video.
Despite TikTok drama being fun and getting
Let's see what it does.
get along with anyone. And despite TikTok drama being fun and getting a lot of likes, I actually did talk to Dr. Ina in a direct message. She said she wasn't actually insulting the way that I educate. She was just asking me to listen to another perspective. She doesn't like how people are calling me a pick-me, but just saying I should also listen to LGBTQ criticism just like I listen to homophobic criticism. And the way she described this was actually really smart. I did feel a little bit of judgment from her first video. I did feel she was talking down to me. A lot of times people do talk down to me because of the way I present my gender or because of my race. But looking back on her video and looking at how she is talking to me in her DMs, no, I don't actually think she's racist or homophobic or transphobic. I was wrong. I think her video was a little bit harsh because I do educate, and in that specific situation, it was a little bit out of context. But she brings forward a good point. I need to show kindness to both sides equally. And I might be favoring a little bit of the boys because that's the side I'm trying to convince. I don't need to convince LGBTQ to like ourselves. Hope this helps.
Yeah, I think that it was disrespectful at first. Like, it's nice that they became friends, but it certainly was disrespectful. That's the way that Dr. Ina comes off oftentimes. Because I think that she is like of course judgmental. She's intelligent. I understand why. But like, yeah, it was disrespectful. My thing is like I had just said, like, you educate different people in different ways. Like, Desmond's audience is people that are more conservative leaning, just like mine are too. Like, what, and like, he did a great job of providing like the proper context for like the super straight thing. This really seems more like Dr. Ina has more of a bullish personality, and Desmond is a little bit less assertive, and Dr. Ina is effectively kind of like convinced Desmond that he's wrong even in places where he's not. So that's my interpretation. But it's nice that they become friends. I still like both of them.